Thank you very much. So at Finistar Lab, we're building Baselight, and today I want to share with you why we're building Baselight and how we hopefully will be able to dismantle one data monopoly at a time, because I didn't know that the data landscape was so bad when we started building this. So I think we can all agree by now. I mean, there has been a lot of talks about this. In the age of AI, data is everything. And I'm going to use some papers and news headlines to support my claim. So for instance, I mean, if we go to LLM training, we all know, like, we've been talking about like the data bottleneck and like how we're reaching this bottleneck where it's really important the quality of the data for the quality. So to get better quality in the LLM training, so your AI is only as good as your data. There are no new ideas in AI, only new data sets. But also if we go to inference, it has been shown that not only data, but structured data is really important, because it allows LLMs not to guess and to actually hallucinate less. And if we use structured data, we can improve their reasoning. So we see that data is all around. Like, of course, if we go back, I mean, we already had this intuition when the scaling laws were published that more data improve the intelligence of LLMs. But size of the data set is not enough. We've realized that we're reaching a bottleneck in terms of amount of data, and quality is really important. And also, we have this thesis that structured data is going to be key also for the future of AI. But like, if we go to humans instead of machines, I mean, for us, human structured data is also really important. I don't know if you've tried to answer this kind of question, like, how does the price of Bitcoin correlate with the evolution of the election polls in the US 2024 election? So, I mean, if you've tried to answer this question, you go to a search engine, you go through the website, you've probably found either snapshots of how these, the trend of how these have behaved, or you have some opinion article or something like that. So there's no easy way to have a data-backed, accurate insight about these kind of questions. But we can go to a more mundane example, like, for instance, how did the evolution of corporate US debt compared to the government debt? It's not easy to answer this question, like, in an accurate way. You go into a lot of websites, you either see a snapshot, or you have to be a data analyst that finds the data set, process data, curate it, and is able to build a pipeline that allows you to answer this question in a data-backed way. The closest that I see that we are to answering these kind of questions, or at least get a sense of what is this kind of trends, is prediction markets. But of course, they're not accurate, but they're a good proxy, right, for answering this kind of data-backed questions. And like, I don't know if you've tried LLMs for this. They're not great because they end up doing what we do, right? Like, if you, as I was coming here, I wanted to double check like what were my probability of my plane crashing. If you answer this question, what Claude ends up doing is like just web search, use the web search tool, find all of the websites really quick, find the data that it's inside, and like spit it out, and hopefully give you the answer. But like, it's not up to date, it's not accurate, like, it's not real structured data that you can consume and get a data insight out of it. So we can agree that raw data in itself isn't that useful. And actually, like, in the 2010s, we had this analogy of like data is the new oil. Then we use this analogy to say, hey, data is this great resource that is going to be really valuable for companies. But I think the analogy is still valid, but it's not because data is this valid resource, but because data, like oil, in its raw form, it's worth nothing, right? So we need to curate it, we need to structure it, we need to put it in a way where we can actually answer questions with this data. That's why structured data is really important. And like, the data landscape is full of inefficiencies, right? So you need to first discover a data set that is up to date, that it has the structure that I need, so that I can kind of cross references with other data. So this is really hard, right? And like, this is not a problem only for LLMs or a problem for individuals. This is a problem that it impacts everyone, right? It impacts even professional analysts. So professional analysts have a hard time accessing structured data, so they need to discover these data sets, build pipelines to source this data, make it in a format that can be cross-referenced with other data and get these models or these insights. So this is really hard. Discovering new data is also hard, right? Like, you either build a pipeline to get the data, you find an authoritative source that gives you accurate data. So this is really hard. And not only this, like, then you have to build tooling and visualization. There's a lot out there, but generally it's like more corporate-focused, BI. So there's no easy way, even for analysts, professional analysts, to get all of this data curated and be able to to use it for mundane questions. And also, like, there's another thing here. Even data analysts end up like doing the same work over and over again. So I don't know if you've done this test of like going to Kaggle, getting a data set and like building a simple model or a simple visualization of this data. We all end up doing the same data creation, the same data curation, the same pipelines. I was chatting with, so we've chatted with a lot of people about this. We were chatting actually with crypto institutional investors. I don't know if there's any here. Please let me know if you are. But like all of them internally, they build their own data pipeline. So they don't use Dune. They don't use like all of these APIs because they need to juggle several subscriptions. And all of their data engineers, they need one in-house, and they're all doing the same data. So this is a problem, not only for like us as individuals, but also for data engineers. And once you get a little bit into the data landscape, you realize that it's a broken system full of monopolies or oligopolies, but like with a clear market power from different key players. So we have more and more data, but the quality remains kind of locked, and it's not unlocking all of this innovation. And I'm going to share why. So let me walk you through the data landscape, because actually this is something that I didn't even know until we started exploring the idea of Baseline, so I want to share it with all of you. So the first big player in the data landscape are data licensors. And I'm going to give you a few examples so that you understand what is a data licensor, right? So let's put an example of real estate. And these are real examples. We've talked to people that consume this data, enterprises that buy this data, to give you a sense of like how these licensed data sets work. So CoreLogic is a real estate company, also a data company that that specializes in the real estate market. And what they do is that they aggregate and normalize fragmented public data throughout all of the US. So they go to local administrations, they source this data monthly about real estate operations, what is the price of all of these operations, land value, and so on. And they end up reading PDF, papers in many cases, CSV. They get all of this data, they curate it, they make it in a structured way, and they create this data set that they sell to enterprises. And like they sell these licenses to enterprises in a weird way, because it's not a self-serve, like I go to their platform, I just buy it, and that's it. There's a bilateral agreement, a back and forth negotiation, because they have price discrimination, they don't have transparent pricing. We got access to some of these contracts. They have all of these clauses that limit how you can use this data. So you see that it's a really weird space. And I mean, it's public data, right? Everyone should have access and use it. And like, it would be great if it's there available for us to consume. But it's not easy. And the reason is because there's a high fraction to acquire this data. They have huge OpExes to get this data. They have actual people that they pay in every local administration in the US to pull this data. And then they have their engineers, data engineers that are creating these data sets. Let's go to an example of the financial sector. So Visible Alpha is a company that was recently bought by S&P. And what they do is that they employ hundreds of staff with millions of expenses annually of OpEx to process and send curated financial data sets. You can think of, for instance, stock spot prices, market signals, SEC filings that they source and they sell in a structured way. And what they do in the end is just they take all of these public sources, create a data set in a structured way, and they sell it to enterprises. Same way. They go to these enterprises, back and forth of emails, agree on what are the clauses. The clauses are as weird as, for instance, you can only use this data in a derivative way, so you can only use charts. Only a number of C-level persons can have access to this data. There's a maximum number of users that you can use. These are the kind of applications that can consume the data. So these are the kind of clauses that are enforced over when I purchase these kind of licenses. So they're really wary of their data. But not only this, like you may think that they give you this nice infrastructure where I can start consuming that data and that's it. These are CSVs that flow through email through these negotiations. So to give you a sense of what is the state here. And then there are other, for instance, in the sports sector, there's, NBA stat providers. I'm obviously a basketball fan, so that's why it's NBA, but like you have examples in soccer, in NFL, where they have big warehouses where you have humans, actual humans, watching these games, and 2 humans per game, actually, taking stats about the games and like creating these data sets and real-time structured data about these like what is happening in games that is still as real-time streams or as historical datasets. So this is how it looks like. It's all public data. They just fetch it and curate it. They are charging millions with price discrimination, and this is the reason why individuals and even long-tail data engineers don't have access to this really valuable data. So this is the first player and like the first weird monopoly that exists. And I'm going to glimpse already like AI and Web3 are going to be key here, and one of the reasons, because a lot of people have tried to displace this monopoly. But now with AI and Web3, we think that, or our thesis is that we have an opportunity to displace this. Let's go to the next big player, which is data marketplaces. You're probably interacted with one of these data marketplaces. We have, if you go to BigQuery, they have their own data marketplace there. You have data sets that are free data sets that you can consume right away. You have paid data sets that have a reasonable price. You purchase a license, you can start querying it with SQL. And then you have the data licensors, data sets that you probably came across too. So all of these data licensors, they announce themselves on these data marketplaces, but they have either a huge, absurd price, so no one will purchase it, or a button that says contact sales. What they want is this price discrimination negotiation where they can limit how you use their data and how you consume all of the data that they're selling. Examples of data marketplaces we have in Snowflake. Snowflake is a bit better because you have ways of connecting certain sources. The same for BigQuery. They have now a way of connecting certain sources, but it's quite limited. AWS has its own data marketplace. But they have their limitations, right? It's this nice catalog that has a lot of data, but you're completely locked in. You're locked to whatever they have in their catalog to consume. You have to use their query engines to query that data. If you want to cross-reference one dataset that is in Amazon's catalog with one in the BigQuery catalog, you have to figure out how to do all of that connection. So it's not, if we have this vision of being able to answer questions with structured data, you're quite limited to what you can do. So it's a closed ecosystem, and in the end, if you're a data provider and you're trying to upload your data there because you've done a lot of really cool curation work, you have to go through a form, you have to be accepted. It's again, there's no self-serve. It's again a lot of frictions to get your data there, and that considering that you can even monetize it, which in many cases is not the case. Which leads me to the next broken part of this system, which is data monetization. So in open source, there's this really cool thing where I don't have to write a JSON parser for a language every time. I can reuse some open source library that other has written, benefit from it, and directly build upon it or leverage it for what I want. This doesn't exist in data, right? So there's no easy way to collaborate in data or to put all of the work that I've done with my pipelines that is sourcing spot prices from Yahoo Finance or something like that. There are some alternatives, but there's no end-to-end platform that allows me to collaborate in the open source ethos over data. So it's hard to collaborate for providers. It's hard to monetize this data for providers. There's no incentives for providers to actually put out all of the work that data engineers are doing every day to make this data easily consumable. But also there's a problem, right? When we started building Baselight, we were oh, this is going to be so cool for data engineers. They're going to love it. But then data engineers, they have the skills already to consume and get this data. It's a pain in the ass, but they can do it. And we were okay, it would be great if we lowered the barrier and we make everyone a data analyst, right? Because there's a lot of value of being able to consume structured data and get insights, accurate insights from structured data in real time. And I'm focusing on individuals here because that was kind of the problem that brought me to Baselight. But we realized that this is going to be really important also for machines, right? So being able to have something that allows me to get structured data and do retrieval augmented generation for my LLM or even doing some kind of feeding the context with this huge catalog of structured data, it can be really interesting, right? But right now, there's no, so the tech is there, but the market mechanics are not there to make this easy. So the vision is, what if the same way in Google, you have a search box that you can put your question, it gives you the answer, a bunch of websites right away. What if you could do the same, but with structured data, right? You look for all the structured data in the world, you extract, discover whatever makes sense, and get an insight of it. Here I have an example of what is the correlation between the Bitcoin price and this is a really simple one, right? And the NASDAQ price, you could use liquidity. These are some insights that we've been doing. So our vision is you get natural language, you had a search box, it searched for all these structured data, and it just extracts the insights out of it. And we have now, with the technology that is out there, an opportunity to make this a reality. Of course, it's hard. It's going to be a painful road. But we think this is possible, and that's why we're building Baselight, right? Like Baselight, we say that this is this universal hub of structured data and insight. And you can think of it as like a mix of these three concepts, right? Google, in the sense that Google indexes every web out there in the world so that you can discover it and consume it. We want to do the same with structured data, right? Have a universal catalog or a big index that indexes all of this structured data so that it can be found and it can be consumed out of the box. You can also think of places like GitHub in the sense that we want to make it easy to collaborate on data. For instance, we want to displace these data licenses. It's public data. Like they have a bunch of people that are sourcing this data manually. What if we could replace it with a community, right? A community that is sourcing this data and creating as high-quality data sets, lowering the OpEx and lowering the friction to consume this data, right? Because it's just pay as you go. And I'm going to show you in a moment, and it distributes like the payment according to like the data, who contributed the data, and how it is scanned. I mean, we think that now we have like the incentive model and the system to make this possible. And of course, like this focuses in the provider, but we also want the consumers. So actually, for full disclosure, one of our co-founders is one of the early engineers on Dune, and something that they did really well in Dune is like having these dashboards to tell a story. You got on-chain structured data, and you told a story with Dune. And we were like, this is really cool. Like, it makes everyone be able to access in an easy way structured data. I mean, they have SQL and a bunch of things, but like, this is the concept that we wanted. So we wanted to take it to the extreme and like make it really easy for consumers to consume any structured data, the same way that people consume on-chain data with Dune, right? Just to give you a sense of like what inspired this project. So what we offer, just to summarize, is an open data marketplace, permissional data marketplace. So the idea is to have this universal catalog that allows everyone to be able to discover structured data and like grow it and improve it so that it's easy to consume. We have an AI-powered data platform. We're putting a lot of effort on trying to like lower the barrier both for consumption, like providing data and consuming data. So discover data with natural language, being able to make queries with natural language, and also to allow all of the pipes. For instance, we've seen that there's a lot of AI image recognition already that gets stats from sport games. I mean, we want to put all of the means there so that machines can provide data and like source this public data, and also the other way, consumers to be able to consume really easily data, both machines and individuals. So for that, we need a powerful analytics, and we're putting a lot of effort on these UX so that it's easy to consume. To give you a sense of how it works, under the hood, we have data consumers. This can be from humans to machines. And I'm saying machines because like we support MCP, we are implementing A2A. Like we understand that we're going to a point where not only individuals will want to answer questions with data, but also machines will be in this place. And then we have, in the provider side, we want all of this to be self-serve and like remove all of these frictions that you have in current data marketplaces. So we have a query engine with a storage system and so on, so that data providers without infra, they can provide the data. They upload the data and advertises their structured data through the catalog. And also we have data providers with infra. So imagine that I'm a big company. We have examples. A big company that I have data. I just want to distribute my data because it's not my core, and like there's valuable data. I don't know. For instance, we have one data provider that is ProBlab. They have a lot of networking information, and you have that data in an S3 bucket, and you just want to advertise it through the network so they can be queried, but you don't want to move the data and so on. So we also support that. Like we're doing all decoupled in a way that it's easy to connect your structured data and provide your structured data into the network. To give you a sense also of how it works, we probably will have subscription at some point, so because it's an easier and like clear pricing, but we want to have transparent pricing. So when you create a query, what happens is that there's some part of the query that goes to pay the resources, so the query engine that was involved in the execution. There's some part, like you create a query that it may be scanning data from different tables that may be in different infrastructures. So there's a tag that goes to each of these data providers that gave the data. So, and in this way, and we're following this marketplace approach where we're getting a cut of it. Right now, it's a monolith. We're the ones running, making it easy because we're really focusing on like trying to solve the consumer side. So We're making it easy to providers to upload the data, and we're running the query engine, storage, and so on. But like slowly, we want to grow into a place where like we don't have to be the ones running the infra below. I mean, now I'm going to try and convince you why now it's a good time to do it, because there has been a lot of attempts to do this. There has been this company that was they raised 60 million from Snowflake, and they ended up returning the money because they realized that it didn't scale to do it as a single company. The incentives weren't there. You had to go to all of these data licensors, purchase the data. It was kind of a nightmare, and it didn't scale technically and economically. There was this other company that they were more focused on the catalog, and they was recently acquired. They ended up doing a catalog for enterprise data, but like you see that there has been several attempts here, and they have failed either because technically it was hard to scale, or because like the economics of scale weren't there. Now with Web3 and AI, we think that we have an opportunity to fix this. Web3 allows us to have the community. So we are able to pool a community and like have this open source ethos that allows us to curate and create this collaborative data set that reduces this OpEx of like the existing data licensors and having to purchase ad hoc data licensors. Because like, of course, the problem that this company had is that once you go to data licensors and you say, I want this data to be used for everything, they're going to say, oh yeah, I'm going to make so much money from you, right? So you're quite limited there. And to give you a sense of what is our scale right now, we're really early. We're just 1 year old, but we've started onboarding data either manually or like through partnerships. We have 65 billion, over 65 billion rows of data from, I think it was Tuesday, 278 tables and 51,000 data sets. The source of these data sets on the topic are various. Like we have on-chain crypto data, we have our world in data, we have the World Bank, we have different authoritative sources, we have sports data. We're trying to focus on niches because we have this chicken and egg problem of every marketplace. So we're really focusing on crypto because it's what we know, and sports because we think there's this opportunity of start displacing some of the licensors. But like we have data of all over the place, and you can contribute your own data already through the platform. And yeah, like this is how, just to try and stress this is how we're planning to dismantle the monopoly of the data landscape, indexing everything so that the data is discoverable, and we unify all the data that is siloed in different data marketplaces so you can query it. Through this open source ethos, we want to try and like displace data licensors so you don't have to juggle this data licensor subscription, and hopefully we can make everyone a data analyst because like we want everyone to feel like the power of say, hey, this is really cool. I did this chart that compares like how the government debt evolved compared to the corporate or like something else. So yeah, we're trying to move from this dark world of monopolies to this open world of Baselight. You can already use it. I wanted to do a demo, but like I don't have internet. But like you can scan it, sign in, start. Please, we love feedback. Give us as much feedback as you want. You have our social networks there. I'm gonna wait here. Okay. Let me just go here, say, we're looking for feedback and contributors both in the data side, like feedback in terms of product, in terms of like what is the kind of data that you want, like anything. If you're data engineers and we want your feedback. So yeah, we're really early. We really think we have, our thesis that we can do it, but I mean, we need, of course, a community and start growing. And that's all. I don't know if we have time for questions. Otherwise, like, here's the QR. We are in social medias. Reach us out and let us know what you think. Thank you.